Welcome back to VOP this morning. The Supreme Court has finally released the certified true copy CTC of its December judgment of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB. The Apex Court also promised to transmit Kanu's case file to the Federal High Court in Abuja. This was disclosed by Kanu's special counsel, Aloy Ejimakor, via a post on X. In December 2023, the Supreme Court dismissed an appeal to release Kanu. The Apex Court also obtained the judgment of an appeal court sitting in Abuja that discharged and acquitted Kanu of all terrorism charges. In its judgment, the Supreme Court ordered a transfer of Kanu's case back to the Federal High Court in Abuja to continue his trial. The court, however, faulted the Nigerian government over the extraordinary rendition Kanu was subjected to from Kenya in June 2021. Following the delay, there has been pressure from Kanu's lawyers and IPOB for the release of the certified true copy and transfer of the case file to subordinate courts. And that is the story we have to look at this. The second story we have to look at VOP this morning. All
right, still with us, we still have Mr. Ekundayo Lawal, and of course he is an educationist and yes, a public affairs analyst. And still virtually we have with us Dr. Hassan Sadiq, who is a security strategy expert, and he's also going to be going with us on this particular topic that we're talking about. You wanted to ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Lawal, I wanted to ask you this question before now, but all the same we can look at that later. But let's look at this topic we're dealing with here. What is your make on the forth and back of this Kanu's case? You know, the federal government is accusing him of, first, initially they started with 4 cases. They had 4 cases against him. Later, it was increased to 15 count charges. And later, they reduced it to 7 count charges. Before you know what has happened, they say you're discharged and acquitted. And back again, the Supreme Court is taking him back to Federal High Court. What do you stand on this case?
I want to take it in two different sides. The first one, I want to bring your mind to the case of Umaru Diko of 1984, 85. You remember Umaru Diko? Do you remember Umaru Diko?
Yes.
In which the former president, when he was the military administrator of that time, that is General Buhari versus Diago, they tried to abduct Umaru Diko from London. And it was foiled by the government of the security forces of UK. They couldn't abduct him, so it was. We now shouted. There was a lot of shouting then that it was military were too bossy. They are too this whatever. Now the same thing is playing out in the democracy time. Kanu was abducted successfully to Nigeria from another country. They didn't follow due process in that country, and then it was brought illegally to Nigeria. Now we have constitution and constitutions. We have the Nigerian constitution, we have the AU African constitution, we have the United Nations constitution, now which we are part of. And then they said that the way it was done was wrong. And now our constitution, we are now coming back to our constitution now. We are hiding it in the constitution and say that he has to continue after he has been illegally abducted and his right was infringed upon. Now remember, he ran away from Nigeria.
He jumped bail. He jumped bail.
Yes, when his house was attacked by the same government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He had to run for his life, and that was his excuse for jumping bail. It was not addressed, and we want him to continue with the terrorist charges. Fine, but the implication is this, which we are not looking at, and the Nigerian government is failing to understand. Kanu has followers. He's asking for cessation from Nigeria. For his people from Nigeria. is what he's fighting for is gaining ground among his people. Is gaining sympathy.
You think so?
Yes, it's gaining sympathy. You know why? Because they declare holiday. The federal government tried to stop it, it was not possible. The state government tried to stop it, it was not possible. Do you know why? Do
you also realize that Nigeria is a sovereign state by itself? And making such declaration is termed something else.
I'm coming, wait. You see, in 1966, the same people, how many years ago, the same ethnic group was asking to leave Nigeria. We didn't, the totality of Nigeria did not agree. There was a civil war, you get, and then Nigeria won. They were supposed to be integrated back into Nigeria as brothers, but they were suppressed. How many years after now? They are still asking for the same thing. Those who asked for it then, they are dead. Supposed to have forgotten about it, but now we are having the same thing again. And the same method that was used then is still being used now. Do you remember the civil, if I may take more time, I'll get it like 5 minutes. Do you remember the World War I and World War II? Do you know what caused World War II? Because Germans, after the First World War, the other nations formed the League of Nations. When they formed that League of Nations, they used that League of Nations to suppress the Germans. And the Germans gained sympathy from that area. How? That was how Hitler rose to power. Because the Germans felt they were being marginalized. And they rose up and started the Second World War that shook the whole world.
Now my question
I'm coming, let me finish this area. When, after the Second World War, Germany was again, conquered by the world. But they now learned a lesson. That instead of suppressing them, we should integrate them, make them one of us. Germans were now made as a part of United Nations. Instead of suppressing them, they had to convert it from League of Nations to United Nations, so that they can bring in those who fought against the Allies as brothers. And that is why today Germans were the least. In fact, they were very, very reluctant to be part of the the Ukraine-Russian war. Go and check very well. They were one of the least countries in Europe to take part, to supply weapons to Russia.
So bringing it back to this particular situation,
I expected the government, to show something in which you try to, bring these people in to the fold of Nigeria. Yes, not the way you use force, because the moment you use force, their children, history is writing it, and their children will see it as we are always marginalized. That's why they use that word. We are always marginalized. We are always marginalized. Now look at it. The one court said release him. The DSS or SSS didn't release him. They brought up other charges to make sure that they never release him. History is writing it. Their children, they are learning. That they are being marginalized. That they will continue to use that word marginalization. And in future, you may come across the same problem again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawal, for that. Let me get to Mr. Hassan Sadiq as a security expert. There was a statement made by Femi on a book, additional, in the particular book he released about how his tenure with the president, former president actually was. And there's a clause in that particular book that said something about having mercy on this particular man that they are trying now, instead of executing him. He made that more like to make it look like the federal government actually had some pity on Nnamdi Kanu of IPOB. And this actually have sparked lots of reaction, in the country and even out of the country. Mr. Sadiq, what is your stake? What's your stand on this particular statement by Femi talking about, is it like the federal government actually have the right to take someone's life outside the country? Because I could remember that even in US is against taking people's life people who are, even if they are looking for you, even if you're wanted, even if you're in their black book and they say you somewhere else, they'll find a way to bring you back for the possible trial instead of inciting or talking about, you know, taking your life. Do you think that this particular statement by Femi, do you think is a good one as far as this case is concerned?
Okay, first of all, in Nnamdi case, some years back, I said government should forget about it and not even arrested him. Now, coming back to your question, in every nation, there's where the government use process, not due process. By additional submissions, the government has sympathy on Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu can be eliminated outside Nigeria through our agent. If they want to take him out, they can do it.
But the question is, would that have been the right move? Would that have been the right move? That's the question. Because the statement made by Femi Adesina was that...
no, you did not get the point I'm making. I said in any nation, there's where the government of a nation use process, not due process. America use it. Every other country in the world use it for the stability of their nations. So if Nigeria has that might to also use it, but simply because, as Adesina said, the government want to be magnanimous on Nnamdi Kanu, that is why they make sure they bring him back. I will tell you, in security, strategic, whatever, government can take out Nnamdi Kanu outside Nigeria. They have the apparatus to do it. But government decided not to do it. Rather, bring him back and try him here.
Okay.
So now, the statement additional made is correct.
Oh,
it's right.
Fantastic. Okay, sorry, please. It's fantastic that you had to hit the nail on the head there. Statement being correct.
Yes.
Now, but there's a school of thought that also have been saying that if that had been done, we would have had major uprising. Now, what we are having in the southeast now might have been small compared to what would have happened. And that might have actually led to the dissolution of Nigeria. That is
where we get it wrong. Sometimes that is why I make that submission that Nigeria in a hurry, Africa in a go-slow. It's like a proverb. You cannot say you want peace. You want to be part, and you are not doing the line of a peace. You can never achieve it. When the Nnamdi Kanu issue started, the Southeast, the stakeholder, were in support of him. But I will tell you today that the suffering of Nnamdi Kanu today, of the Southeast today, it affects every part of the nations. Every December, we know that people travel all over the world back to the East. Do you know how much economy they move back home every December? But for some years now, because of sit at home, that the man come up with, and later the security implications, people are now scared. They are losing a lot. It's like using a knife to cut your nose, to spite people. And later you now said, oh, it is paining you. They should treat it for you. You are doing yourself.
Okay.
These are what to cause the implications. What I'm saying in essence is that what we have benefited as the Igbo from Nnamdi Kanu today, and what they have lost, which one is higher? Okay. And that is one person.
Mr. Sadiq.
If we are economically thinkable, we could have not told the line Nnamdi Kanu told to the end. Nigeria is a sovereign state. When you now come up and try to create a division, that is a different thing. Every nation in the world that separates has a process. It is the law is there in United Nations. Nnamdi Kanu never followed the process of how the East can become a nation of its own.
Okay.
Europe got out of Britain. They have a way, the way they do it. Brexit exit, which happened just a few years. That is the way you go. There's a line of referendum which you never part. And we are parting the line of criminality. And today we are all suffering it. So government is all magnanimous to Nnamdi Kanu by bringing him here without not taking him out outside Nigeria. We have to get it clear.
All right.
Okay.
History is there. Khashoggi was taken out outside Saudi Arabia. Khashoggi is a citizen of Saudi. This is what the state might do. They have the might. It is constitutional. So if the government decided not to toe that line and now bring in Nnamdi Kanu and try him, government is magnanimous to Nnamdi Kanu.
Okay, Mr. Sadiq, you just made a point and I say that it is constitutional for the government to take someone out, you know, even when the person have not really been given the right to fair hearing as regards what we practice when it gets to democracy. Okay, let's look at this also. Mr. Sadiq, are you trying to tell us that the fault in back process in this case of Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria judiciary, is it also a case of taking a process, not the due process? Because we had, I think, during the last court hearing that he actually was discharged and acquitted. That was in December, before they have a stay of execution by the Supreme Court. So this process, is it also part of the due process and the process to take on this case?
Okay, before I go to your questions, let me make a clarification since we're in the media. What do I mean by the state has the constitutional means? There's what we call national security policy of a nation. You now have constitutions. What the national security policy tries to do, I'm speaking as an expert in security, is that there are areas your constitutions cannot take action because your constitutions supposed to have a global look. America has their constitutions, but America has their national security policy, which clearly made it clear that in anything, America interests first. That is why America took out a general of Iran army. That is what we call international assassination. But nobody said, why did America do that? Because back home, their national security policy clearly said America first. Whatever threatens America, America will use process, not due process. I want us to have this clarification because this is more intellectual. Now, Nigeria as a nation, you have your own constitutions, which at every citizen, you must give them a hearing. But when issue become an issue to a nation, the government will use that national security policy element to solve it for the peace and security of their nations. So that government never used that aspect. That is why I said government is magnanimous. Let's get this clear. Because it is more intellectual now. Now, getting back to the issue of the court. Yes, in nations like Nigeria, you have to also respect your court decisions. Nnamdi Kanu was one person who jumped bail before. If you remember, when the army come out for what they call road show, it is normal for army to display their crocodile tears. That is what they do in the east. In the west, in the north, they have different way of naming it. The army usually do that to show that we have the might, we have the power, so that any external aggression will know that you cannot dare this country. That is why you see the army will come out and do show of might, show of strength. On that process, Nnamdi Kanu escaped and left the country, and now said he was being, they are trying to eliminate him and all that. But the bail which the court at that time gave you, when you now go away, you are supposed to let in that court to know why you jump bail on the basis of this. It is not that you decide to jump bail. That is one. Why the court at that time give you bail that you cannot go back again and continue creating some level of insecurity because you are on a bail. But when the man outside Nigeria, he continue creating more problems. Definitely you must have followers. Either they know or they don't know what they are following you for. Okay. Now, when the government was able to bring you back, that same court, since they couldn't prove that, okay, you don't bail and all that, the court now said we should be acquainted on the basis of the manner which they bring you. This is why the court now give you acquainted on the issue that the manner which this government bring you back here, that you don't pay bail and all that, it is illegal. This is what the court did. But that government has prerogative power again to look at it. If we allow this man to go, That time he jumped in, and this is what he did when he ran away. Now, if we allow him to go now, what is going to happen?
All right.
That is why the government is now holding him on process, not due process.
All right.
All right. All right.
By due process, the government is supposed to allow him to go since, because the court has appointed him. But because of what has happened in the past, that bail was given to him, this guy jumped bail. And when he jumped bail, he became more violent to the nation.
Okay.
Creating insecurity. Now that they're able to bring him back, that government now said, even if the court give you bail, I will not release you.
All right. Thank you so very
This
much.
is process. No longer due process.
All right. Thank you.
So what does that mean? For you to fight a man you cannot beat, don't fight him.
Okay.
Use strategy to beat him down.
Thank you so very much,
All right, that's
Dr. Hassan.
security
That was
advice.
really some security lecture there. We do appreciate you for your commitment towards this particular topic. Now, we're just going to come straight to you and, of course, get your final thoughts on this. Mr. Aloy, the counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, has come out to say that the Supreme Court, I beg your pardon, has decided that at this point, all Nnamdi Kanu's case will be moved to the Federal High Court. So that means everything that has to do with Nnamdi Kanu should be settled at the Federal High Court. Your concluding thoughts, what do you think and make of all of this?
Actually, like, let me, in my own small knowledge, clarify, say some things. I remember the case of Julius Assange or whatever.
Yes, that's the Iranian.
No, this is WikiLeaks guy.
Okay, yes.
This
the
WikiLeaks
WikiLeaks
guy that released some very incriminating, and the Americans said threatened their security of America.
Khashoggi is the other one.
I think
Assange is the other one.
No, okay, Khashoggi, is it that?
There is Khashoggi. Khashoggi should be the
one that,
anyway,
I've forgotten, I always mix his name. The WikiLeaks.
The WikiLeaks
guy.
Assange.
Yes.
That's Assange.
It's what he published threatened, America said threatened their national security. Published secret, even worse than Nnamdi Kanu. And yet, he was never illegally adopted. In fact, he stayed many years in two countries, even went as far as UK. Okay. And UK gave him protection. That if you have any case against him, America, come to the court and prove your case. Do you remember that? That is what you were saying. If you go to somebody else's country, one country go to another person's country and adopt person, you have threatened the security of that country. You have shown that they are weak. Their security force is weak. They cannot secure their country. That is why they are angry.
That also have to do with the relational tie between the both countries.
You can't see if
when it comes to security of the nation.
If they arrest your forces there, you see what they will do to them. You get what I'm saying? Okay. That's why I brought the case of Umaru Diko. That the UK, they could have allowed him now. In fact, they stopped the Nigerian government from that. It was a serious case against Nigeria International.
All right, your concluding thoughts.
So that is the case of that. You get what I'm saying? My own is this. The federal government is overflogging this issue. They should learn from other countries. There was a time Scotland wanted to leave UK. And UK used, they managed the situation such that everything died down. Catalonians wanted to leave Spain. See the way they managed this. If it was even worse, they managed the situation and the man is released. He has been released. The man that started the uprising against Spanish government has been released. You get it? Because they know that this man, if you don't, you just make an hero of him. You just make a hero of him. You get sympathy all over the world. You get sympathy. History will write it that you are wicked against him, and there will be another uprising in the future. Okay. So for the government to manage it, they have to find a way to manage it in such a way that this thing will not aggravate and write a wrong history for us in the future. So we don't have another uprising again from that end again. So that is my conclusion. Government should manage it.
Properly. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, before we get your concluding thoughts, Dr. Sadiq Hassan, let me deviate a little bit quickly in about a minute or two. We do know that insecurity is increasing in the country, And just before you joined us virtually, we were talking about the force PRO.
I hear, sorry,
about,
I hear Mr. Hassan has left us.
Oh.
So we definitely...
I was going to seek his advice on security issues.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Probably do that some other time.
Okay. That's about it on the discussion segment. Many thanks to you, Mr. Lawale Kudaya, an educationist and a public affairs analyst.
And a farmer, please.
Okay, we definitely will be putting that in as well. And to Dr. Sadiq Hassan, a security expert, and yes, another public affairs analyst. We say thank you so very much, gentlemen, for being here with us. Up next on VOP this morning will be business just after now. Stay with us.